Maria, returning home, had mixed feelings. On the one hand, she was happy that she was able to celebrate her colleague's birthday and spend time with friends. On the other hand, she was a little worried that her son had been alone for so long. She realized that he was an adult and could take care of himself, but she still felt a little uneasy. When she got to the door, she heard someone inside. She opened the door and saw her son sitting on the couch watching TV. He looked up and smiled at her. "Hi, Mom," he said. "I'm so glad you're back. I was getting worried." "I'm sorry I was late," Maria replied. "We were a little late." "It's okay," the son said. "I understand." Maria walked over to her son and hugged him. She was so happy to see him that tears came to her eyes. "It's good to see you too," said the son. They sat on the couch and talked about their day. Maria told her son about her job, and he told her about his school. They laughed and joked, and Maria felt happy. After dinner, Maria put her son to bed. She kissed him on his forehead and wished him good night. Then she went to her room and lay down in bed. She closed her eyes and started thinking about her son. She was so grateful to have him. He was her meaning of life, her joy. Maria fell asleep with a smile on her face. She knew that tomorrow would be a new day, and she would be by her son's side again. Maria felt alone. Initially, she had little time to establish a romantic relationship. Then, as her son David grew older, she began to worry about how he would accept her new partner. By the time David was an adult, Maria gradually became accustomed to her loneliness. However, the fear of relationships still lurked in her heart. She never thought about it much, but subconsciously she realized that she feared repeating past mistakes. In any case, she had been alone for years now and had made peace with it. "David, I'm home." Maria put her purse on the table in the hallway and started to take off her boots. The birthday party had gone very well. No one had had too much alcohol, of course, but everyone had loosened up a bit and had fun coming home. Maria very rarely drank, only on special occasions, and even then very little. "Looks like the holiday was a success," David smiled, leaning his shoulder against the wall. "By the way, Michael stopped by to see me. Is it okay if he stays with us?" "Sure, no problem," Maria replied. Michael was David's best friend and a regular guest at their apartment. His mother was a close friend of Maria's, so Michael often slept over. The guys often spent long evenings, forgetting about time. They kept a popular blog on the internet, shooting videos on various topics. Maria was happy to see David finding suitable friends. She often watched him and Michael laughing, discussing their projects and having fun. Perhaps this was their way of expressing themselves and being in the world, and Maria supported them in this. She watched as David and Michael grew their blog, attracting more and more subscribers. They had become popular online because of their originality and talent in creating interesting content. Maria was proud of her son and his friend, seeing them achieve success. Along with the development of the blog, Maria had a new idea. She decided to join David and Michael's project, offering her own ideas and experiences. She started making videos, talking about her interests, her experience raising her son, and the life lessons she learned along the way. Maria became a popular figure on the blog, attracting attention for her wisdom and sincerity. Her videos garnered many views, and many viewers found inspiration and encouragement in them. Maria was happy that her experiences and words could help others. A new relationship and a new blogging role gave Maria a new life. She no longer felt alone because she was part of something bigger. Her fears and doubts gradually disappeared, replaced by confidence and joy. In this way, Maria found new meaning in her life by transcending her fears and opening herself to new possibilities. She realized that loneliness does not always mean loneliness in the heart, and that courage and openness can lead to unexpected and beautiful changes. Michael lived in another part of town, and getting home late at night was quite a challenge. Tonight was not over. It carried a pleasant continuation. At the first hour of the morning, Maria turned off the television. She put the remote control on the bedside table, turned to the wall, and covered herself with a thin plaid almost head to toe. When Maria was almost asleep, she heard the doorknob turn. She raised her head and saw in the darkness of the night someone's silhouette who stepped into her room and slowly closed the door behind him. "Maria, are you asleep?" A barely audible whisper broke the silence. Maria sighed heavily. For unknown reasons, it bothered her a lot when this guy addressed her as you. He himself didn't dare to switch to you, and Maria had never asked him to, as she liked his politeness and show of respect. The guy wasn't a timid sort of guy, but he couldn't address an older woman as you, much less the mother of his best friend. No, I'm not. Maria leaned back and waited for her overnight guest. Michael very quietly walked over to her bed and leaned over her slightly. Come on, come here. The woman threw the comforter aside a little and drew her legs up so the boy could fit there. Michael carefully climbed onto the bed and hovered over the woman, almost pressing his body against her. Maria twitched her arm and covered herself and Michael with the plaid, as if she wanted to hide from prying eyes. She wrapped her arms around her boyfriend and wanted to pull him against her when she tasted a passionate kiss. Her eyes closed, and she felt the man's hand began to slide down her body with a confident movement. What took you so long? The woman could not see her overnight guest, but she could feel his breath. David decided to watch a movie. At least he fell asleep before finishing the movie. I turned it off and came straight here. Michael was almost out of breath. There was one thing about David. He was a very deep sleeper. If he fell asleep, it was problematic to wake him up until he woke up. It was not the first time when the guy looked into the fire with a woman, and they had fun under the plate. And this time, Maria quickly found something to do with the guy. Maria looked into the eyes of her young guest and saw delight. Michael, however, was jubilant as soon as he saw the beautiful woman in front of him. If she woke up the one who was sleeping in the next room, it could be irreparable. The chance was slim, but it was there. The creaking of the old bed became more distinct. He opened his eyes a little and looked at her. It's time for you to go. Maria didn't want him to leave her so soon, but it was necessary. Just a couple more minutes. The guy spoke in a monotone, looking into the beautiful woman's eyes. Okay? Maria let out a sigh of relief. She herself wanted him to be with her for at least a couple more minutes. The woman had taken the risk, but she so didn't want him to leave. And it had all started by accident. Andre had been in love with Maria since childhood. His mother, Sarah, was her best friend, which allowed him to meet Michael and fall in love with his mother, creating for himself an image of the perfect woman, seeing Maria almost every day. This sometimes happens when a young boy falls in love with his tutor, his teacher at school, or his best friend's mother. Almost always this crush passes as he grows up, but it leaves its marks. A childhood crush has passed, but as it should, it has left its roots. Having fallen in love with the mother of his friend, Michael created for himself an image of an ideal woman, and although he did not notice it, but all his girls were like Maria, not tall, slender, with long dark hair and a small bust. All petite and sophisticated, a little modest, but insanely beautiful. Michael began to forget about Maria, which gave him a chance to calm down a little. But you can't fool yourself. It is impossible to lie when looking in the mirror. One day, David forgot to send Michael the video clips they were working on and went to his grandmother for the weekend. The guys called, and David suggested that Michael come over to his house. Maria was not at all thrilled that Michael would come over and be in her apartment without her son present. Maria was able to drown out her feelings and cool down, but the fact that Michael would now be coming all alone created some awkwardness. But then she pushed those thoughts away. Well, what could happen? He will come to my son's room, do his business, and leave her apartment. Except that neither Maria nor Michael had anticipated that this very day, this very minute, a faucet would burst in the kitchen. Sometimes in a stressful situation, you can get confused. Instead of shutting off the water, you start to fight the elements manually, which, by the way, and did Maria. A cold shower quickly perked Michael up, and he remembered that the water was shut off in the bathroom. Retching from the kitchen, he ran into the bathroom and turned the valve. When he came back in, he found a wet woman upside down in there, staring at the faucet incomprehensibly. The guy had completely forgotten where he was and what had happened before. He pulled off his wet t-shirt to squeeze the water out of it. He looked at Maria. Her entire house dress was soaked through. It clung to her skinny body. Maria, seeing Michael's embarrassment, had a fit of embarrassment and tried to leave the kitchen, but froze in one place. Love struck both of them. That's how they had it the first time. From that fateful breakdown in the kitchen, a new turn in their lives began. Every day they were more and more attracted to each other, but all their meetings were fleeting. Sometimes they managed to spend the whole night together when David went to his grandmother's house. On such evenings, it was possible not to hold back, but to relax. Maria and Michael especially appreciated such evenings, for they allowed them to be alone to fall asleep in the arms of their loved one. The shared secret was so sweet that it wasn't the least bit uncomfortable. Subscribe, so you will immediately know that there is a new interesting story that will stir your thoughts. Comment like. Thank you, everybody. Good luck.